Alrighty. Hi guys. It's been a little while for me. I have kind of been back in the groove of working a lot. Not for any real reason. I am going on a road trip next week. I'm on a mission to hit the 50th state in 2023. Hopefully in the first half of 2023. I'm almost there. So taking a road trip next week, that'll check off 3 more states and then I'm almost done. Unfortunately, the states that I'm still missing are kind of, you know, the states that nobody fucking ever talks about. But it'll be fun regardless. I do have a list of things that I want to accomplish on this trip, so we'll see how it goes. Also, I don't really have a ton of time because it gets dark so early this time of year. So this video was initially going to be a little bit different, but I had to run out for a bit because I have a bunch of stuff that was sent to me by a buddy of mine named Thomas, who he sent me a big box of stuff like last month, month and a half ago, something like that. But he sent me a big box of stuff that I want to incorporate into one of these vinyl update videos. But I'm gonna have to do that next time because that video is probably gonna be a little bit longer and I just don't have that much time right now. If you can hear it in the background, which it might actually be a little bit too loud, this is what we're listening to. This is the new Acid Witch album. There won't ever come a day where I won't welcome a new Acid Witch album. This is really, really good. Some tracks on here that I especially really like: Devil's Night Doom, Psychedelic Swampnosis, 5508 Martin Street, The Evil Dad. Yeah, man, really, really good stuff. Just a lot of fun, and kind of Acid Witch doing Acid Witch. Kaylee and I actually went and saw Acid Witch live like a week and a half ago here in Louisville at like a Krampus event type thing. I also saw the project Scary Black, which is a Louisville-based like dark wave project, which is really, really good. But it was also like a burlesque show and shit. Like it was really cool. It was fun. But Acid Witch played at the end of the night. And I bought this directly from the band. Kaylee and I spent a bit of time talking to Slasher Dave, and I got this CD directly from him. So very, very cool. Acid Witch is wonderful, and I am, of course, looking forward to the LP sometime next year. All right, I have actually a lot of good stuff to show you. I'll actually be talking about Acid Witch again in this video in just a little bit, which I hadn't thought about until right now because I just pulled all these records out. And this Acid Witch CD was already in the player. So, yeah, we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. This video doesn't really have a theme or anything like that. I am going to be talking about a few first presses because I've been heavy on just keeping up with it. Buying first presses of like, you know, things that I just love. And I've been talking about at least one first press in like every video that I've been making. And it's been a lot of fun for me. I've got a few more on the way, like a few more that I'm really excited about. But this one right here was another one of the very first ones that I ever thought about buying once I, you know, kind of got onto this kick. And right along with this kick of buying like first presses, I've also been on a huge death metal kick. And it hasn't let up at all. And this album is obviously kind of just an iconic death metal record. This Cannibal Corpse with Butchered at Birth. I showed the first press of Eaten Back to Life a couple months ago, probably, maybe a little bit longer than that. This is obviously the second full-length album that came out in 1991, just a year after Eaten Back to Life. And anybody who's familiar with Cannibal Corpse, and especially just the sort of trajectory in the first 4 albums. Like, every one of the first 4 albums are pretty different from each other. Like, they have their own distinct identity. And the change was especially drastic between the first and second full-length album. Like, this is definitely a lot more, like, akin to what we would think of as, like, straightforward death metal. Whereas, like, Eaten Back to Life was very thrashy. And Chris Barnes' like Cookie Monster vocals really made their debut on this. I will say that this is probably my least favorite of the first 4 albums. I mean, like, I think it would have to be, for me, like, Tomb of the Mutilated is probably the best of the first 4, I think. I don't actually have that one yet. That one's fucking expensive. But I'll get it eventually. And then I would say probably Eaten Back to Life is my second favorite, then The Bleeding, and then Butchered at Birth. And I think largely it's just kind of maybe that Butchered at Birth doesn't really have like an iconic staple on it like the other 3 in the first 4 did. I don't know which of these songs Cannibal Corpse still plays live. And I don't really want to guess because I know it's probably an obvious answer, and I haven't seen Cannibal Corpse live in a few years, but obviously, like, the first album, like, they play Skullful of Maggots live, and Shredded Humans for me is like top 5 favorite Cannibal Corpse songs, and then obviously Tomb of the Mutilated has like Hammer Smashed Face and I Come Blood. The Bleeding has Fucked with a Knife and Stripped, Raped, and Strangled, and like, those are like iconic songs. Of course, that's not to say that this album doesn't have some certified bangers on it. Like, for me, Butchered at Birth, the title track, is one of the first death metal songs I ever heard. And I remember, like, I was probably in like 5th grade, like I was probably like 10 years old. And I remember it, like, I remember feeling like it was definitely something I shouldn't be listening to. But it, it was just endlessly intriguing, especially considering like the album cover being so fucking like graphic and really at this point just kind of classic. So like I said, this is an original press from 1991 on Metal Blade Records. This one wasn't officially repressed until 2009, which I actually have one of those too. It's put out through Back on Black, and I'll actually probably be selling that one pretty soon. I really don't need both. But let me show you what this looks like. So I guess in an effort to make this like sellable through like record stores, they obviously censored the front cover on the actual outer jacket here. You do have the original art, and I'll show you in a second. But this is the outer jacket, just the logo, Butchered at Birth, explicit artwork, explicit lyrics. There's the back cover there. You got a shot of the band. I have no clue why, but whoever like owned this at some point like wrote on it, but I don't know what the fuck these things are supposed to mean. Also, what is it with people like, what is it with like fucking early metal records, or maybe just records in general, that like possessed people to fucking write on the goddamn jackets? This comes with the original inner sleeve, which is where you get the uncensored artwork. It has to be one of the best album covers of all time, right? I mean, really, like, it really is just one of the most like sort of visually striking pieces of art like in metal history. I absolutely adore it. Vincent Locke, obviously the guy who's done all of Cannibal Corpse artwork up to this point. The other side is the like Butcher Baby. Very, very cool. The vinyl itself is just black, so I'm not gonna pull it out, but you do have like the old Metal Blade labels there. Lots of very frantic riffs. Lots of memorable moments. Obviously just vile fucking lyrics from front to back. And even in terms of like the just kind of disgusting nature of the lyrics, this definitely is a step up from Eaten Back to Life. I absolutely love the way that this album sounds. Like, the production quality is about perfect for a death metal album. I don't know, I could keep talking about this, but I've probably gone on for too long as it is, so absolutely essential. That's Cannibal Corpse, Butchered at Birth. Alrighty, here's another one that I'm kind of excited to show. This is something that kind of came out of the blue for me. I didn't know about it. I guess this band played a live show, and they had these at the live show, so I saw a couple of them pop up on Instagram, like people posting them, and you know, then it was like stay tuned for like official distribution or whatever. So I was in California, and Mike Seatown messaged me saying that Bionic Records had copies of this. And my plan was initially to hit up Bionic Records in hopes that I could get one, and then he sent me the link for like the online distro, and yeah, I'm super grateful because otherwise I probably would have missed this. This is Arizmenda with Spider's Lust in the Dungeon's Dust. It's been a while for Arizmenda. I mean, I think the last time there was a full-length album was back in 2016. So, you know what, I actually thought about this the other day, and I don't know if it was maybe like, if it's maybe a coincidence or if it's like actually some sort of purpose behind it. But this is the 6th full-length album from Arizmenda. It has been 6 years since the last Arizmenda full-length album, and there are 6 tracks on this album. I don't know, it comes in 3s, I guess. I don't know if it was like an intentional thing, but it's cool regardless. So like I said, there are 6 tracks on this thing, and they're long tracks, ranging anywhere from like 8 to 16 minutes. And this album really does just kind of encapsulate everything that makes Arizmenda so special. Lots of like layers on this album, lots of like intricate guitar work. Weirdly, the drums kind of sound a little bit soft, but I think it adds to the overall feeling. The vocals are like very like anguished sounding yells, but it like regularly teeters into like harsher and cleaner territory. Overall, it's definitely a very like detailed album, and it feels very like grandiose with like an air of melancholy. And there's just enough sort of like interest here to keep you engaged from start to finish, even though it is like an hour long. One of my favorite things on this album, the 5th track, Opening the Veins of Anxiety's Archangels, is like an example of like the most chaotic parts of this entire album, which immediately like breaks into like one of the sort of like calmer, more restrained parts with like these really spooky, whispery vocals and like keys and stuff. And it transitions right back into like that super chaotic, harsh black metal, which is fucking wonderful. I mean, like there's plenty of just really good atmosphere, lots of sort of fiery aggression where the album needs it. I mean, this is very well balanced, and it's great. I'm gonna show you what this looks like, because it's actually got quite a few things to show, and I don't want to spend forever talking about this one. So I just took the Obi strip off. There's the album cover there. I don't love this style of art, but you know, I don't know. It works with the style of music, I guess. There's the back cover right there. 6 tracks, more artwork, and you have the band logo up top. This was self-released, by the way. And it was also pretty expensive to buy it like brand new, shipped. I think it was like $60. This is a gatefold. More of that art. It looks like a big spider thing. Very cool. But it doesn't have enough legs to be a spider, so maybe not. I don't know. There's the Obi strip, by the way, in case you were curious. This also includes a booklet, which includes additional artwork and all the lyrics. I have not sat down and read along with the lyrics to this yet, but I might do that right when I'm done with this, because I am very curious. I mean, I know like Arizmenda in the past has very, you know, interesting lyrics, so I like it. I got inner sleeves, additional art, and the like side names, which I don't remember what order these go in. Anemic Beast, Consuming Death. Yeah. But yeah, just additional artwork. There were 5 different variants of the vinyl. And I got in quick enough. I actually got the one that I wanted the most, because I don't have any records that look quite like this. It is a double LP, and they both look just like this. On the website it was listed as like scat and cocaine, which is cool as fuck. Brown white swirl, very nice. It also includes a poster, just more of that artwork with like the Arizmenda logo down there on the right. Very cool. And actually, it didn't mention it anywhere, but when I opened the box, when this had shown up in the mail, when I opened the box, fucking like butterfly wings fell out of the box, and you know, it was kind of a fucking mess. I didn't really know what to do, and the more I dug, I found this fucking like wad of like hair wrapped up in like twine. And you know, there's the butterfly wings. But yeah, a bunch of hair wrapped up in twine, which is kind of gross because, you know, I don't know. But, you know, I felt weird throwing it away too, just because I've got that stupid, like, collector mentality. So I put it in a Ziploc bag and I just keep it with the record. But, absolutely one of, like, the best, sort of most interesting full-length album releases of 2022. Definitely expect to see this whenever I do the best of 2022 video. This is wonderful, and if you haven't heard this, I mean, you know, definitely hop on it. This is great shit. Arizmenda, Spider's Lust and the Dungeon's Dust. While we're talking about 2022 full-length albums, here's another one. This project, I talked about it not that long ago because I showed a tape, and I mentioned that the guy behind that project had sent me a cassette of one of the first 3 EPs, which were kind of a trilogy, and that's great. All 3 of those EPs are really good. Every new thing that this project has put out since that has just been increasingly good. And I am talking about Spider God. This is Fly in the Trap. So, Spider God is a project based in the UK. I'm about certain, but I don't want to just put it out there because I could also fucking be wrong. But I'm pretty sure that this project is based in the UK. And if you haven't heard Spider God, especially with the stuff that's happening like now, it is almost supernaturally catchy, very, very melodic black metal. And I mean, really, like, my philosophy at this point is like, if the purists hate it, I'm probably gonna fucking love it. And I've definitely seen that this project has been on the receiving end of like a volley of bullshit from the sort of black metal elitist types. But, I mean, really, that should give you every reason to, like, look into this, because if it's not the same thing for the billionth time, then, you know, there's reason to be interested. But this is the debut full-length album, following a handful of, like, splits and EPs and stuff. I talked about the Grinning God split a few months ago, which is the most recent time I talked about this project, I think. But actually, you know, Metal Archives lists the Black Renditions release as a full-length album. I don't really know that the guy behind Spider God considers that a full-length album, because it is kind of like a compendium of like covers. So I'm not really sure if he himself considers it a full-length album. But, you know, whatever. This is the first like full-length album of totally original material. And the Black Renditions shit is fucking wonderful, by the way. I'll talk about that at some point as well, because I do have one of those. And that's great. But I figured I would talk about this now, because it's been on heavy rotation for me. And one of the other things that makes this super unique is like the true crime concept behind the album. If you aren't familiar, this album is based on the story, well, I guess the death and subsequent sort of like conspiracies and investigation of a Canadian girl named Elisa Lam. And I guess to sum it up as quickly as I can, Canadian girl visiting Los Angeles, staying in the Cecil Hotel. There was elevator footage of her being like super weird, like kind of hiding in the corner, like peeking her head out and shit. And that was the last time she was ever seen. They found her in the water tower, like dead in the water tower on the top of the hotel. And the more information that came out about this case, the more like the internet sleuth types really exploded. All sorts of internet conspiracies and shit. I remember when this was happening back in 2013. And really, most of it is based on the elevator footage. Like the time in the bottom having all sorts of like, you know, inconsistencies and cuts and shit. And I remember one of the other big things was like when she leaves the elevator, you can kind of see it looks like somebody's shoe, like as if somebody was hiding behind the wall. And the lyrics actually reference that in the very first song, The 52nd Murderer. So like I said, very interesting concept for a black metal album. after the release of the initial like track, the first single, the 50-Second Murder, the first song on the album, I kind of assumed that the lyrics would be a little bit more like straightforward, kind of how they are on that song. But a lot of them seem kind of symbolic, I guess, and I don't know if it's like a lot of it might be in reference to like the blog that Elisa Lam ran. That could be very possible. I mean, the guy behind this project obviously did his research, so you know, I don't know. There's probably a bunch of references to things that I just didn't get offhand. But I really like the lyrics on this album, front to back, very good. But really, what's so good about this is just how fucking catchy and memorable and melodic it is. There's also a few good guest vocal performances on here. Most notably for me is the vocalist from Gritting God and Rope Sect, Enmesher, I think is what he goes by, on the song Labyrinth of Hallways, which probably is my favorite track on this one. I love like the layered vocals between the guy from Rope Sect and then the vocalist of Spider God. And the guy who does Revenant Marquis does guest vocals. I'm pretty sure on the song Flies in the Trap. Yeah. Flies in the Trap actually has a really cool moment of kind of like feedback and vocals, which is really, really cool. Kind of a standout moment on the album. But most of these songs kind of take like a verse-chorus approach, which, you know, that nothing wrong with that at all. It definitely helps with like the memorability. But let me show you what this looks like so I don't go on for too fucking long. I wish I could remember the guy who did this album cover. I follow him on Instagram and he does a lot of these like digitally rendered like rooms. But this is a digitally rendered recreation of what the Cecil Hotel would have looked like from inside that elevator. And it's cool because the 14th floor is, I mean, all of this stuff is consistent with like the story. The 14th floor being where she was when she got off the elevator, the buttons on the elevator that she pressed, and the elevator wouldn't hold. I'm pretty sure there was like a hold button or something that was pressed, but I can't quite remember. But I really, really like this album cover. Very simple, very sort of graphic. I love it. There's the back cover there. Put out through Repose Records. You have all the track listing, and again, very cool. It's like a view from like the inside of a water tower. And that being like, you know, the opening to the sky. This includes a big booklet. One side you have an arm, and the other side, Elisa Lam, 1991 through 2013. And this has a bunch of like additional art and all the lyrics and stuff. Yeah, man, very cool. And the vinyl itself, actually, I don't really know what happened here because I got in a little bit late and the colored vinyl was sold out. So I ordered the black vinyl, and I had a little chat with the guy behind this project and told him I was bummed that I missed the splatter version. And that's the splatter version is actually what showed up. So I don't know if it was like an accident on the part of Repose Records or what, but I don't care, it's mine now. But 100 copies, clear, red splatter, I love it. This is another one of my favorite 2022 records for sure. So give this one a whirl. It's Spider God, Fly in the Trap. Holy shit, I need to speed this up. Jesus Christ, I've been filming for way too long, but I've only gotten through 3 fucking records. Alright, I said I was going to talk about Acid Witch again, so let's do that. This is Witch Tannic Hallucinations. This is a 2009 self-released version, the first press of Witch Tannic Hallucinations. This is the one and only thing ever released under the name Acid Witch Records. After this, it turned to Witch House Records. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just whatever the band wants to self-release, they can under Witch House Records. But this was done back in 2009. The very first Acid Witch album, obviously. And actually, I think it might be the first Acid Witch release. I know Metal Archive says there was a demo, but like Discogs doesn't list it. I can't find it anywhere, but I assume that that probably exists. And I think it was 2007. So 2008, the first full-length album came out, and it was originally released on CD through Razorback Records. and then this was self-released the year after. This really is like one of the most unique sounding albums that I own. A really perfect blend of like psychedelic rock and death doom. The like extremely heavy bass in contrast with that like high-pitched psychedelic guitar work that's all over this thing. It creates such a cool effect. And there are all sorts of like cool sound effects on this one as well, like bong rips and fucking like witch laughs and you know, stuff like that. It really does sort of add a whole atmosphere and really give this almost like a B horror movie feel. But like lots of the instrumentation on this one is very like chuggy, in a good way. I like that. The vocals on this one are extremely like deep, throaty vocals, and this is actually I think it's the only thing that Lassie did vocals on for Acid Witch. I think he left soon after this album. And this album came out around the very same time like the first Hooded Menace album came out. And Lassie obviously being the guy who does vocals for Hooded Menace. Obviously now Slasher Dave does the vocals for Acid Witch. On this one, I think that Slasher Dave just does like the synth work, which is a lot more reserved on this album than it was on like subsequent records. But I mean, it literally is like a perfect balance. I really love this album. I've always said, like, if the songwriting of Stoned sounded like this, I mean, it would literally be a perfect 10 out of 10 album for me. I do like Stoned better. I just think the songs are a bit catchier, but the atmosphere on this album really is like just totally unmatched. The album cover also, I would say, is probably my favorite album cover ever. Done by Shagrat, who does play in this band. But yeah, I fucking absolutely love this album cover, and it fits so perfectly with the music. Obviously the difference between the cover of this one and the Hell's Headbangers Picture Disc version that I have is this has the original logo. I like this one way, way better than I do the one that Hell's Headbangers used. But whatever. No inner sleeves or sheets or anything. The lyrics are on the back cover. There's the Acid Witch Records logo there. And all of this stuff is included with the Hell's Headbangers version. Yeah, very cool. 500 copies of this one, and they were all released on this like kind of olive green, I guess maybe like swamp green vinyl. But the labels are the same. Very, very cool, man. I'm so happy to own this. I've wanted this thing for ages, and I came across a copy of one on Discogs for like $30, $35, something like that. I'll take it. Wonderful shit. I'm sure you've all heard it, but if not, give it a whirl. That's Acid Witch, Witchtanic Hallucination. Alright, that was a little bit longer than I really wanted it to be. Let's keep going. This is another first press. This is another early death metal album too. And another album that I never owned anything by on any format. This is Nocturnus with the Key. Nocturnus formed, I think in Tampa, back in like 1987. And they had a couple demos before this album, but this is the first full-length album from 1990. And like in retrospect, Nocturnus really kind of stands out. And I'm sure at the time it was like, you know, it's pretty obvious that Nocturnus was a bit different than all the other like death metal bands coming from Florida and really anywhere else. Just in terms of like, you know, the use of keys, which is pretty subtle, but you know, it's different for death metal. And obviously like the sci-fi theme here was kind of different than everything else happening at the time. The intro is basically just a straight like synth intro that kind of leads into like discordant guitars. Overall, I mean, it really does just sound like an early 90s death metal album. You know, so like the keys and stuff really don't add like an overwhelming factor to the music here or anything like that. But, you know, everybody fucking knows this one, so I'm not cluing anybody in. The guitar work on this one is great. It's very heavy-handed with, like, solos and stuff, which I appreciate for sure. The vocals are very, like, raspy, but I like that too. The lyrics on this one are almost entirely free of like the gory subject matters that existed with most of the other things happening around this time in death metal. I know there's like some lyrics on here about going back in time to shoot Jesus, which is kind of cool. Actually, I think it's like they go back in time to shoot Jesus and both of his parents, which I like that. I'll show you what this looks like. Unfortunately, after I ordered this one, I realized, I got it through Discogs. After I ordered it, I realized that it was missing the inner sheet, which fucking sucks, and I've been trying to avoid that the best I can, like buying, you know, first presses that are missing shit. But I got this one for pretty cheap too, so, you know, I'm not too mad about it. There's the album cover there, just a big robot floating, I guess, maybe in space? I don't know. Dan Seagrave album cover, and it fits pretty well with like the, you know, the sort of futuristic sci-fi lyrics. Nocturnus also has a really cool logo too. There's the back cover, all the track listing and shit. This was put out through Earache Records back in 1990. The vinyl itself is just black, and you kind of have the standard Earache labels. So yeah, man, Nocturnus is great. I want to get the second full-length album at some point. I actually, like, I've never heard anything after the second full-length album, but I just saw somewhere, I saw the album cover for the third album, and it looks like, I mean, it looks fucking atrocious. I can't imagine that sounding anything like other than, like, Static X or something, but, whatever. This is a fucking banger, and though everybody knows it, here's 10 seconds of Nocturnus, the key. Alright, real quick, here's a split that came out a couple years ago, maybe back in 2020, that just got a vinyl press for the first time. This is the split between Drug Darkness and Vampirska. I think that's how you say that, Vampirska. I've talked about Drug Darkness a handful of times on this channel, and Drug Darkness deals almost exclusively in like split material. This is, I think, one of 6 like splits that came out back in 2020, which is wild. I mean, I think it was like around 15 splits or something under his belt in the span of like 4 years. The Vampirska material dates back to like 2019, I think, and that guy's got a couple splits under his belt as well, but also a couple full-length albums. And I think one of the full-length albums might have even come out this year, but I haven't heard it. This is actually the only thing I have heard from Vampirska, and as much as I like Drug Darkness, I actually think I prefer the Vampirska material on this one. So this split is actually only 2 tracks. It's 1 long track apiece. The Vampirska stuff is pretty raw, but there's actually like, you know, distinguishable like melodies in the riffs and stuff, which I really appreciate. I like the kind of disembodied, distant, sort of ghostly vocals that Vampirska uses. And the sort of like ambient interlude in that song is very cool as well. The Drug Darkness song on this one is, honestly, it's probably one of my lesser favorite like Drug Darkness songs. I don't really know why. I guess like the sort of synthy ambient stuff in the first half of that track, it just kind of like, it sounds a little bit disconnected from like itself. I don't really know how to describe it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to listen to it again. I've only played this a couple times so far, but there's also an interlude on that song, and the sort of like faster punky black metal shit is all in the second half of the Drug Darkness side. But I like the Drug Darkness like vocals quite a bit. They're kind of like whispery and distorted, but you know, I don't know, just like the spooky disharmonic ambient stuff, like I like that about Drug Darkness. Just something about this song. The song on this release, which is called The Blissful Depth of Darkness, a slow motion death trip flash. Yeah, I don't know, it just, it might just take another play or so. But yeah, both these bands are actually, or both these projects rather, are USA based projects. I really like the album cover. You have a Count Orlok there with like needles in him, like syringes, very cool. By the way, I didn't even say it. It's called The Blissful Hopelessness, and it's kind of just like taking a piece from both song titles. So like The Blissful Depth of Darkness. And Vampirska, the song is called Hopelessness of Hearts in Void. Cover the face of majesty in stone and watch him waste away. The back cover, there, both band logos, put out through Occultist Blut. Yeah, very cool. You have an inner sheet here, the Drug Darkness side there, and the guy behind the project, and then the other side, Vampirska, and the guy behind that project. But I like this on this side. It says, I only live in the void and I am meant for nothing more. So this was pressed on 2 different colors. There was a green, which I think was 100 copies, and then a purple, like deep purple, which was 200 copies. And actually I got mine through Arcane Altar and they were sent at random, so I didn't really have a choice. So if kind of like synthy, ambient, black metal-y type stuff speaks to you, then maybe you'll like this. I really like this, and I'm always on the hunt for more Drug Darkness stuff, but I'm definitely going to try and pick up some Vampirska stuff as well because it's really good. So check it out. That's the Blissful Hopelessness. I'm only going to spend a couple minutes talking about this one. This one actually might be a little, I probably shouldn't have even pulled this one out, but I mean, it was already like sitting over there, but I realized I had like one too few records pulled out. So this is what you're getting. It's going to be kind of hard to show this because I don't want this video to get like pulled down. YouTube doesn't like nudity, so I'm going to show it from pretty far. This is Waco Jesus with the Destruction of Commercial Scum. So Waco Jesus formed in Illinois back in like 1995. And in terms of like brutal death metal, this is one of the earliest like brutal death metal albums that I ever heard. This one and Filth I heard around the same time. And I remember it was because I ordered something and I got a little flyer for like a fest. And at that time I was just all in on brutal death metal. And the names that I could read, I ended up looking up. And Waco Jesus was one of those. So I don't remember which album for sure that I heard first, but I just really liked both of them. So I remember I've had the CD for Filth for like 13 years or something like that. But I never owned the Destruction of Commercial Scum before this full-length album. And I really wish that they had used, like this is actually the censored cover for this album. If you've probably seen it, but the original like uncensored cover is like a collage of like girls shitting in like other girls' mouths. Obviously it's a very sort of like visually striking album cover, and I mean really like that's the point. Like shock value is definitely this band's thing. But I actually really like the songs on here, even without like the shock value adds something, but you know, overall it's just a good brutal death metal album. Lots of kind of groove. There's lots of, I mean, it's pretty fast throughout, but it manages to add a good level of like grooviness in the music, which I appreciate. The drums are pretty consistently like blasting. I like the sort of deep kind of almost like barky, growly, gurgly vocals. Very cool. This is the debut album, if I didn't say it, from 1999. And that's following a demo that actually had the same name as this one from 1995. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just show you what this looks like the best I can. So that's the censored album cover there. I can probably show the back cover because it's a little bit darker, but you kind of have, no pun intended, a taste of what like the original album cover looked like. These are different photos, but yeah, it's just girls eating shit. Hell yeah. This is put out through Morbid Generation Records. I also like just, I mean, with the shock value comes like fucked up song titles, like Mass Pussy Obliteration, Butt Plug in Your Pussy, My Fist Up Your Ass, Fist Fucked, Cadaveric Mutilation, Cunt Killer, Virgin Assassin. Yeah, man, just some really wholesome, good Christian tunes. There is the inner sheet there. Just a shot of each of the band members over a picture of more scat porn. Hell yeah. All the lyrics and stuff on this one as well, with more pictures of the guys in the band. And the vinyl itself is just black. I don't remember the limitation on this one, and I think there was like colored vinyl as well. But I guess I'll show you what these labels look like. There's side A. More of just what you'd come to expect, I guess, from all the other shit that's on this, you know, the packaging here. Again, no pun intended. But yeah, man, if you like, oh fuck. If you like brutal death metal, then I'm sure you probably are aware of Waco Jesus. And if I'd never gotten to talk, actually, you know what? I probably would have talked about Waco Jesus when I talked about Filth, when I first did my, like, CD collection all those years ago. Yeah, man, I'd actually, I'd like Filth to get a vinyl press if it hasn't yet. I'm not sure if it has, but I guess I'll check in on that, and if it has, maybe I'll grab one, and maybe you'll see that down the line. Check it out if you've never heard it. That's Waco Jesus, the destruction of commercial scum. And that's it. That's a handful of records for you fucking nerds. I am gonna get this edited probably today, and I'll have it posted in the next couple days, I'm sure. But now that I've said that out loud, I'm sure I've cursed myself, and you'll see it next month. But thanks so much for sticking around, guys, and I'll be back soon. Later.
Can you see me? See me standing in the darkened shadow, the pitch black corner of your room. Can you feel me? Feel me follow close behind you, ghostly footsteps knowing that I haunt you. 'Cause oh